Thank you, Pooja, and it's a pleasure to moderate this very important session on the Great Resignation and how to overcome the talent crisis. The last 10 months, the one topic which has dominated the CEO agenda, whether it's a large company, a small and medium company, or a startup, it is the talent crisis. It's got many names. Some people call it the Great Resignation, somebody calls it the Great Attraction, Satya Nadella calls it the Great Reshuffle. But I think the one fact that's obvious is that there is a talent movement that we've seen over the last 10 months or so. And this trend is global. It's not something that only India or the tech sector is growing. It's across sectors, it's across countries. And every company is now recognizing that access to talent is a competitive differentiator that they need to build, train, retain, and engage. To discuss how are SME leaders dealing with this war for talent, I'm delighted to welcome my panelists for the session. These three leaders are building high growth SME companies in very diverse segments, and their perspectives would be very useful for all the participants for this event. Welcome to Sandeep, Ashwin, and Kumar. Look forward to a very, very engaging discussion. I'll very briefly introduce each of the panelists. I think the common factor that defines them is that each one of them is a chartered accountant. Sundeep Mohindru is the promoter director of M1 Exchange, an online exchange for discounting of trade receivables for MSME enterprises in India. He has tremendous experience in the area of technology, finance, and consulting. Welcome, Sandeep, and look forward to your perspectives.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
Our second panelist is Ashwin Kandoi. He's the co-founder of Winjit, a global product and services company with 800 plus people across the globe. As I mentioned, he's also a chartered accountant, and he's looking to shape Winjit from a lean startup into a top-notch IT organization globally. Welcome, Ashwin.
Thanks, Sangeeta.
Our third panelist is Kumar Rajagopalan. He's the Vice President and Head of India Operations, DISYS. Kumar has over 28 years of experience in the technology industry, and he's building out DISYS, which is operating in multiple cities in India. It has over 1,200 people and is serving 50 companies. They are in the business of people. So Kumar, your perspectives would be really important for a session like this. Welcome to the session.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
So let's get started. I think if you see the last 2 years, it's been a period of great uncertainty and volatility. I want to understand from your personal perspective, what has been a key learning that has shaped your thinking in these 2 years? So maybe Sandeep, we could start with you.
Sure, Sangeeta. You're right. Corona has transformed each one of us. And in the work life, I would say that it has brought me and the teams closer. Though we are working remotely, but many events, many incidents, and the natural empathy for between all of us has brought us more closer, I feel. I know now which cities my team belongs to, which earlier I never used to even think about all that. So that's one big change which has happened. And we are a product company. We solve a challenge for the product with the product that we are making. The purpose why we are making that product and what is it each member doing in it, that again has become a highlight in this two-year period, which earlier again we used to talk more about work, and purpose used to be amongst the senior teams. Going it down to the middle and the junior teams, because you are more engaged in a video call, and there the discussion about a purpose has become very different. Third, I would say is that the cost of doing business. It has moved from physical asset to the digital assets, or a physical way of doing things to the digital way of doing things. Now there are positive impacts, there are more investments also. But in the overall, if I just sum it up, it has a net positive.
Yeah, so, great points, Sandeep. I think the focus on empathy and purpose, I think that is something all leaders that you talk to understand the importance, which I think in the past it was good to do, but today it's become very, very critical. And I think the second point, really moving from thinking about physical assets to digital assets, and digital asset is not about the NFT world that we read about. It's far beyond that. So great learnings, and I think they'll be very, very critical for organizations as they shape what their future assets are. Ashwin, if we were to move to you, what would you say have been your great learnings in these 2 years?
For me, the fundamental shift in the whole ecosystem has happened. And this is a once in a lifetime event. What has happened? People call it, uh, uh, this is a once in 3 generations kind of an event, not in once in 1 generation. We'll not see this event happening all over again purposefully. We used to call ourselves a company based in Nashik, Bangalore, and Pune. Fundamentally, that has changed for us. We are no more a company based in Nashik, Pune, or Bangalore. We have employees across 50 different cities at this point of time. This massive change and available of pool of talent, which was very centrally located or location specific, that entire organization shift has happened for us at all levels within the organization. First, people used to believe that they need people sitting next to them. Their way of operation has changed. So while there is a challenge of the talent crunch, etc., but also the whole ecosystem or availability of talent has made us available. That biggest fundamental shift for us has happened, Sangeeta, here. I think that's the key takeaway for us. And of course, adoption of digital technologies. We have never seen that transition which has happened, what has happened in the last 2 years at the pace of what has happened in the last 2 years. So we've done what possibly would take 2 decades has happened in 2 years here.
The point on location agnostic is just so important, right? We are no more a Noida headquartered company to an XYZ company, right? It is an organization that is work from anywhere or across cities and maybe even across borders, right? So there is no restriction on where you can get talent and where your talent will be. Kumar, if we were to move to you, what would you say have been your top priorities or top learnings?
So I think the whole thing, what Sundeep said is very true. The empathy, and it's just not employees. Now we go beyond employees and even touch the employee family members, because this uncertainty during the COVID time has taught many other things. So it's like kind of handholding the employee and their family is very, very important. That's one of the main reasons, key takeaway in this to retain the talents. The second is, while building the organizational capacity, there is also a need to build the soft benches, because these are readily available talent pools available, and training up with the training institutes and some of the team members sitting outside. These are key supply side informations available, and that needs to be harnessed. We always talk as a chartered accountant, right? Like, we don't say cost cutting, we say cost optimization. So digital assets, what he said, it's very true. In this world, focusing on the employee retention through the higher paycheck to the employees, but at the same time, it's more a realignment. Now your physical infrastructure cost is coming down, security, transportations, and so some of the other areas which are normally been there in the physical offices, those are getting kind of slowly being shuffled out to employee engagement cost and employee cost and things like that. So I won't say there is a cost escalations going here. There is a cost optimization is also going parallelly. So in a way, this has taught us too many things right now, even for a CA to understand the cost implications while looking at the humanistic side. This is something which has been a new learning for us.
Great. And I think the point on adjacent talent pools and skilling is something I'm going to dwell on much more in this session. But I think the point on cost optimization, rather than having a narrow lens on, wage costs going up, is somewhere how you have to think about, to the point Sandeep had raised about digital assets will have to be measured differently. And I think as three of you as CAs on the panel should really help us, think through what these new metrics can be. So let's get back to the theme of the session, right? It is about the Great Resignation. If I see the tech industry last year, right there, and you've seen attrition numbers have been reported across companies. Most companies have talked about 20+ attrition, 20+% attrition quarter on quarter. And I saw a report which said this means that there'll be almost 1 million resignations this year just for the tech industry. Now, that's for an industry that employed over 4.5 million. 1 million people shifting between companies is a lot of movement. So as SME leaders, how have you dealt with this churn? What have been what kept you awake at night? How have you addressed this issue? How did you retain the people that you wanted to? So maybe, Kumar, we could get started with you and then go to Ashwin and from there. And Sandeep, after that.
Yeah, thanks, Sangeeta. So the main thing is like there are two areas which we normally focus on. One is this the same business everybody is pursuing? Just because like if it's the same business, then the resignation is going to be like kind of a shift from one job to another for the supply side of it, or is it a new business which is coming in? We would say yes, the NASSCOM reports, if we are looking at it, including the GCC companies and other tech sector, it has moved from 300 to 350 billion. So the market is definitely going up. So definitely when the market goes up, the demand also goes up. So there is a continuous progression happening all around. So there are two areas. One is getting the new supply, basically the skills which are required. And the second one is retaining it. So of course, the retention has its own cost because you cannot retain every employee in the organization. So we have to put together the buckets where 30% of the top talents, where they fit into the culture and they probably look at it differently than the others because their growth path is different from all others within the company itself. So those who are aligned will have to be somehow retained inside the organization because they propel the next level of growth inside the organization. In terms of the other side of it, the 70% side of it, we have to look at it slightly differently. One is, of course, if there is a manager who is resigning, then there are few peers with him is also going to resign. So is it just a organization or the salary related stuff that people are resigning, or is it purely because somebody is getting a good opportunity to resign? I would probably put it this way: if there is an opportunity for a good opportunity comes in, an employee resigns, there is every possibility that he would come back. If a dissatisfied employee resigns, he's not going to come back. So it's more the handholding is very, very important here, where we optimize our cost and also putting together at least a parallel HR metrics so that like we know whom to retain, whom to call for again recall, and where to kind of take the business in the future years. And more importantly here is, like as I said, the reskilling, and the skilling is part of it. Early skilling is one thing which I normally provocate. Earlier it takes somebody to take 10 years to get into the project management level. Nowadays, like the youngsters getting in 4 to 5 years, they get matured into the tech lead and project management level. So early skilling is one of the ways of retaining the employees. And we normally put it very, very quickly into our organization. So there are people getting now 2 grades above, 3 grades above the current level. Earlier, it was not. 20 years back, if I look at it, like I would have a gradual progression. But now, even a 4 or 5 years person can get into the tech lead or a senior lead very quickly if they demonstrate the skills.
Oh, you talked about your top talent and retaining the 30%. Now, if one of them put in their papers, would you do a counter offer?
Definitely, if within the 30%. So, but again, there is a parity which goes along with the rest of the employees. And if it is within the culture fit in, and we do absolutely require, we then speak to the employee, and in most cases, 90% of the cases, they fall into the category and we retain them.
Great points, Kumar. Ashwin, if we were to move with you, how did you deal with this talent movement over the last 10 months? And, what innovative practices were you able to adopt?
Sangeeta, I just want to take a step backward. We're talking about the 20% attrition, but let's look at it over a period of 24 months. We should all realize that 2020, we almost had no attrition. So 2021, if we had a 20% attrition, it's actually a fallback or the continuation of the previous attrition. So if we combine it over a period of 2 years, it is not that bad. 1 year, we all went into a shell. And then 1 year is what a fallback of 2020 is. So I'm hoping that 2022 is not going to be as much as what we envisaged in 2000 or what happened in 2021. It has been a tough year. With all due respect, it has been a tough year in terms of customers, in terms of talent acquisition per se. But as an organization, we have seen there is so much demand for technology adoption in the market that there's a dearth of availability of talent in the market. It's not, while there is a great shift which is happening, also there is a great demand which is happening. Everyone is talking about the great shift, but there's also great demand which is happening. And that has kind of created a combination of allowing us to create a pool of shortage of talent. I believe what we did fundamentally, a few things is, 2020, end of 2020 and beginning of 2021, we hired a large bunch of entry-level freshers, which we upskilled them over a period of time, which kind of took 6 months or 9 months for them to be on-job trained, etc. We ran training skills, upskilling classes, etc., which has helped us kind of tide the wave in the last 3 months per se. We had the challenge in the first 6 months, but the last 6 months have been slightly comfortable as compared to the beginning of first 6 months. But I believe the shift is going to happen. But also for us, the access of talent, which was very limited, which I told in the beginning, is also now expanded. Our scope of availability of talent is not anymore local. It has gone national, and in some places we are even looking at, as an SME, which we were not looking at, even looking at talent in some low-cost other countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and other places. We've actually started scouting for talent in these places, which we were not. So it's a combination of both upskilling entry-level freshers, as well as look at talent beyond your nearshore areas. Sangeeta.
So did you ever face a scenario where you felt you could not deliver on a client project because of the talent churn that took place during this period?
Sangeeta, it is happening. It is happening every day. And I believe it is going to be there for the next 3 to 6 months, because the pace of growth and the pace of attrition is so high that it becomes difficult for us to be able to deliver. And there are these challenges. And it's not, when I speak to my peers in the industry, it's not only who we are facing the challenge, it's across the whole industry. But I believe it is very centric to the IT organization, IT ecosystem. And I've not seen this great shift happening in other non-tech enabled industries, I would put it this way. So I've not seen that shift happening in manufacturing as much as it happened in technology.
I think it is the best time to be a techie in the country, right? So you can get what you want. Plus, of course, the variety of opportunities that lie ahead. So I think it is an ecosystem for them. Sandeep, if we were to move to you, right, while you talk about what how you've dealt with this crisis, I'd love to get your perspectives even on the cost side, right? And as a smaller company, while there is a cost optimization that you can look at, but clients may not be that open to increasing rates immediately. So how do you deal even with the cost, increase in wage cost that is taking place? Any advice you have for all the participants for this session?
Right. No, so Sangeeta, like Ashwin is saying, we when we were hiring fresh people and the existing team was interviewing them technically, and the kind of cost the fresh hires were commanding or demanding, we realized in 2020 that this is not going to survive the way we are continuing. So sometime in October 20, we had to do a mid-year correction of the entire system, entire team. And we invested that the existing team can cost, let it go up, but let them come above the market or at market level, so that, even if they have to go, but money is not the reason that they should go. So we actually increased our cost by, I remember in October 20, by almost 40% in October 20 as a standard thing, because we said instead of hiring, and when people are demanding this kind of number and we are underpaying, then obviously this will vanish. So the cost did go up. Having said that, like everyone is saying, the demand also went up in terms of projects, in terms of requirements, and the realization in turn, which also went up. Now, when we increased the cost to the team, we also saw that people were dynamic. I mean, they realized the importance of more output. They realized the importance of making their projects profitable within the contours of their work structure. And like I said in the beginning, it was a net positive. So everybody worked towards it. If I am commanding a better premium for my cost, he was delivering also, because you can't sustain it for very long just because the market is high. So that is the basic shift which we saw, and we did not feel the pinch after few months. First few months, there was a pinch, but after a few months, things realigned themselves. That's
so is there a reset of salaries that we are we are going to see, right? This is here to stay in some ways. Not that every year you're going to do a 40% correction, but 2021 has been a year of reset of salaries for the tech industry.
Right. And in fact, even on the Ashwin's point, I mean, I am seeing a churn also now in sales teams a lot. So I am in a sector of fintech. I am in a supply chain side and supply chain finance. So huge demand of the sales trained professionals, implementation professionals. Again, we are seeing a lot of demand in the market and in turn the churn. So you're right. I mean, this increased cost is going to remain.
And I think, your sector, obviously, both fintech and supply chain is the most in demand, but I think it's really new technologies. Any person who has, any new technology on their CV is going to be in high demand. And I just hope, the technology professionals, they can get the salaries that they want, but they also continue to invest in their learning and development. And it's very heartening to hear from you that, people whom you corrected salaries actually felt the importance of giving back and contributing more. That's, I think, really a win-win partnership that we all need. Great insights. I think, I think it's fair to say that SME leaders in this country have really been able to navigate this talent crisis as well as any other large company has. So there is nothing to say that, you are getting squeezed in the end. Yes, you may be getting squeezed, but you really handled it well. So kudos to all of you. I just want to move to the whole theme about what used to be called employee engagement is now moving to this whole phrase on employee experience, right? We recently had a CEO survey where we asked, leaders on what would be their top priorities in 2022. And employee experience came on top. When we did this last year, it was growth. The previous year, it was, US downturn or some such things, right? So there were very different things that came up. And it was very interesting that this year we saw employee experience, employee engagement coming up on top of priority for companies. So as, as leaders, how have you differentiated your company's employee experience? So if I am a techie and I have thousands of choices, right? What would either interest me to stay in your organization or join your organization? So Ashwin, maybe we could start with you this time.
The toughest question, Sangeeta, you've asked, I think, and we're still defining it. I don't have an answer. We've tried multiple different things. So fundamentally, there was a top-down culture approach earlier, Sangeeta, and in today's times, because a lot of team members we've never met, and we don't believe that we are going to even meet them for the next 12 months or so, till the time things open, etc. From a top-down approach to a peer-to-peer culture approach, employee experiences have moved from being top-down to peer-to-peer cultural experiences. And we've tried multiple different things, but in a virtual world, honestly, it has been extremely, extremely difficult for our employee engagement teams to transform themselves into these experiential experiences for our employees or our colleagues across the whole ecosystem. So don't have a definite answer what we did, but we did multiple different formats of online events, offline events. As soon as COVID kind of slowed down in some cities, we did some local events, catch-up events in these cities. We sent our leadership team members who were keen upon traveling to these cities, gathered a team of 10 to 15 people, organized dinners with them, etc. Whatever we could do as small hobby events, just to make ourselves differentiated in the industry. But it's not been an easy journey, and I believe we are going to learn over the next few months as what the best employee experiences which we can share with our colleagues, etc. in the coming months, Sangeeta.
2022 will be the year of learning and evolving the whole employee experience as we move along. You're so right? Nobody has the answers. It's a trial, error, learning, move forward, experimentation process that we are currently in. But Sandeep, if we were to come to you, what would be your thoughts on employee experience and what has worked for your organization?
Yeah, when Ashwin was giving his answer, I was thinking, what all have we done? So actually, Sangeeta, in this period of 2020 and 2021, we undertook a lot of prestigious for the country innovative projects in supply chain finance, and technology had to be built around it. And we actually split the teams into such projects, and these projects had a lot of recognition, A from RBI, B from banks, C from the industry. And and they had to do a lot of innovative work, and a lot of new technologies had to be used to build this. I think the neck deep involvement in this innovation sailed us through as an employee experience. They have all upskilled themselves while training and as far as at work is concerned. And because the purpose was so strong, they all were very glued to the whole thing. And in what we used to do in 12 months, we did in 6, 9, those kind of periods. So we crunched the period. They themselves did it. I could not have, defined how to do it. That purpose gave them an experience which probably they remained. I mean, of course, the other things in terms of connect on the videos and all get-togethers on the Friday evenings, all that we did, which I think the industry as a whole did it. But if given in the hindsight, I would say this was the key thing which kept all of them binded together.
I think so. Different point from what Ashwin mentioned, right? This is really about the quality of the projects that they were able to work on, their learning, and their highs on the ability to deliver something which they could not have done in the past environment. So that is obviously the importance of learning that comes up. Kumar, you have a much larger team. How did you think about it? And I think very disaggregated team. So
yeah. So in fact, after the COVID, we started mapping out people where they are. I think Sandeep and Ashwin put it. Now I could see there are various other villages also like kind of coming into purview, because at this point of time, the team is represented in every state, and within that state, every village or a city or people are dispersed so much. And even if it's a small policy, HR policy, if I wanted to roll out, to reach them up to that level, it becomes very, very difficult. Even a small change, say for instance, like from next month onwards, you guys have to provide the investment proof for you to get the tax benefits. Is like kind of, at least like earlier, if they were in the office, it's a couple of days to kind of reach the message, and at least the peer would be there to kind of for them to discuss and come back with suggestion. Now everybody is dispersed, so which means that like even a small policy to roll out, it takes 2 weeks to 3 weeks. So that much of a time which is required to kind of reach the mindset of individuals and get the feedback after that. So even one small policy mistake, probably people would say that like I'm leaving this organization because I hate this policy. So to get back the message, it takes 3 to 4 weeks. So even in a digital world, because the mood of the people is different from whatever the digitization which you put in. But of course, like we did a lot of HR digitization. In fact, like trying to find out, AML also plays a vital role here. So try to find out the moods of the people. There is some of the softwares like Workplace and things like that. We put it's just like a social media, so that like we know the moods of the people, we know what they are doing and things like that. So those are very important gauge to kind of understand. Sometimes understanding the moods is very, very important. Further, we moved into what's known as the mentorship program, because of course, like kind of a manager subordinate relationship always exists, but at some point of time, as I said, the 30%, 40% people, a mentorship program is very, very important when they are geographically distributed. And the mentors may be within the department, outside the department, doesn't matter, but all the mentors should be trustworthy. They should be very, very close to the organizational leadership, and they work with a lot of people. And this is where like kind of the messages which are being distributed becomes easily reachable to employees and get back from their replies and feedbacks pretty quickly. So we created kind of a channels, not creating at the same time not creating anything internal politics and things like that, but like a channel wherein people can provide the immediate feedbacks. On top of it, what is very important in this market is especially like kind of retaining the employees and also building their culture. We, as I said in the opening comment, we reached out to the employees' families also, where they have a need and we wanted to kind of support them. Because at the end of the day, if a family member says like, this is the company you need to work, there is every possibility that the employee feel that like they should be part of the organization. So a lot of HR, in fact, our investment on the HR is very high. And not only employee reaches their family members, we do a continuous programs engaging them, including handholding them in terms of, for example, employee may be relocated back to his hometown from here, getting their existing schools transfer certificates, getting their apartment closed. All those services has been put into place so that like they feel that they are part of the organization. So those are very important measures, at least in this world, though it is out of the way of doing it. And as Ashwin and Sandeep puts it, this is a learning for us. Some of them may be important, some of them maybe is like kind of overdoing it. But at the end of the day, is like kind of, even if it is overdoing, we need to kind of learn something new out of that one. So that's what we are doing.
Great points, Kumar. So focus on digitization, talk about mentorship and smaller group interactions, as well as I think the whole family connect, because I think COVID has taught us the importance of not just the employee, right, but an extended family, because it is work from home that we are currently dealing with. I know we are going to run out of time, so I think I had a lot more questions. What I'll try and do is maybe direct different questions to all of you, so that we can at least get all the different inputs in. So Ashwin, very quickly, right, you talked a lot about hiring is becoming also location agnostic. It's no more that you need to hire from the cities that you are in, but that's equally true for a larger company who may, now want to come to a NASSC or wherever else and hire the talent that you would have originally had a first mover advantage on. So how do you think about hiring in this new normal? And what can SME companies do to attract maybe middle management, senior management talent that actually wants to do something different in life and have moved back to their hometowns and don't want to necessarily continue with the organizations that they were in?
We did 2 or 3 different innovative things here, Sangeeta. One was we looked at women who've taken a break for 6 to 8 years, or even shorter or longer, and would want to come back to work in different locations in different places. So we targeted a specific program called as Winjit Advantage program, which we asked women who have taken a break, we will upskill them for 3 months before we decide to get them on work. This upskilling would be free for them. If they get upskilled, if they get chosen onto the program, they can either join us if they get selected, or once they're upskilled, they can go somewhere else also. So we took a conscious effort in this space, and we found out some very good talent, which is not even local, but nationally available in mid-tier, specifically in this space. The second area which we specifically looked at was domains. I'll give you an example. We work in the construction software industry. Instead of only hiring techies from what we call as computer engineers, we looked at civil engineers and upskilled them onto this space. So that we created a larger pool of talent. And we realized that the attrition in non-tech trained people is also much lower if they understand the domain. Also in the fintech space, we looked at commerce graduates, we looked at specifically in the testing domain. So these are 2 areas which we looked at. Third is we also realized that we can get mid-tier talent who is not very keen upon moving to NASSC or smaller places or any other places, were very location specific that they wanted because their families were settled in particular location. We were able to hire this talent, and we were able to get them once in a month for a week in our hometown, which is a beautiful town per se. So it was like a holiday town for them. So they spend a week in NASSC. We organized guest houses for them, organized locations, specifically whatever is required to make their stay comfortable in our town. And they are able to still work with us by still staying in these larger cities or wherever they're currently based on. We were able to attract a lot of mid-tier talent, which earlier our mental state was not to be able to, unless the person is ready to move to our hometown, we will not hire these people. So forget the shift happening with these people. There is a larger shift which happened within our organization to accept this lateral talent also. Earlier, the talent had to be sitting across the table. Now there is a fairly larger shift which we are accepting talent not sitting on the table also, across the table also.
Yeah, that's very, very encouraging, Ashwin, because NASSCOM itself has a limited number of people, and we often debate saying, do we need everybody to be coming to office or not coming to office? How do you build collaboration culture? Can somebody be totally remote, or a blended model somewhere in between? I think just like we talked about employee engagement, I think the whole talent acquisition is going to see very new innovative practices coming up in this year. So Sandeep, if I was to move to you, right, I think the point about hybrid working, right, we all recognize there is totally remote we were in, then we moved to we started coming to office as the second wave ebbed a little, then again the third wave came in, we again went back fully remote. As the third wave is ebbing, a lot of people are asking, saying, what is a return to workplace, that companies will be looking at, and if we were to maintain a hybrid work environment, how do you continuously build culture, especially because so many employees are new to the organization?
Yeah. No, this is one of the key challenges everyone is facing, and I mean, there is no right or wrong formula, but what we are doing is that CXO -1 level, which is, you can call it as managers or team leaders, their bonding with the whole system is very important for it to go to the next level, or filter down to the multiple layers in the organization. So these managers do a daily huddle with their respective teams, and so that they are all connected, and the managers huddle with us as the senior management team is either in person or on virtual, depending on what stage of Corona lockdown is, that we keep doing. So this is a structure that we try and follow. And the managers and the CXOs training workshop periodically through an external member is helping us. Because if they can introspect their own outlook, their own way of working, then they pass it on, filter it down to the next level. This will have a long-term impact. I mean, one cannot measure it in days and months, these kind of things, but this is what we are actually following. The second thing which I'm seeing is that the managers themselves, out of need, are doing a faster rotation of teams versus what they used to do earlier. Maybe it's the need of the hour because there's shortage of teams, so they rotate very fast, and that brings a lot of newness and a cross pollination of working together, handover from one person to another person on one project to another project. That is also helping. So these are the two things actually which we are focused on, and it's helping us naturally.
So if COVID did become endemic, Sandeep, and nobody has the answers, would you have any number on saying, okay, 30% will be at the workplace, or 70% will be remote, or there'll be a 2-day work week for everybody, or it's a combination of everything?
So it's a combination, Sangeeta. We've kept it completely flexible. There is no mandate for anyone, and basis your need, you can come. And I am observing the more flexibility that we are offering, the more people are willing to come at least for an X number of days, because A, they get to change from their from their home environment. B, once they experience sitting together and exchanging notes, better outputs come in. So we have kept it fully flexible, and it's working. Having said that, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, it may work, something may work for someone, something may not.
And that's so true, that providing the flexibility is one of the top asks for an employee today. So and the flexibility will depend on the job role, the client and many other factors. So it's very hard to draw out a playbook on saying this is what the industry itself will do. It will vary across companies, across job roles, across projects, across issues like data security, and that would be important for determining what roles will eventually allow flexibility and which won't. Kumar, I want to touch on the important question of skilling, right? And skilling is now a process of continuous learning. But as SME leaders, how are you investing in skilling, and what are the kind of engagements with universities, with partners like NASSCOM through Future Skills? What are the different ways that companies can fast track their own upskilling journey?
Yeah, this is in fact like one of the major subjects which we are touching within the company also, because unless the employees are skilled, at some point of time, the cost is going to go up. So there is every reason that like the early skilling, which I was talking about, it's very mandatory for the company. So future skilling is definitely one of the platforms which we are right now using, and making sure that like every employee is signed up to that one. Of course, after the skilling, there is a possibility of people leaving the organization. Once they're skilled, they feel that like they have an opportunity outside. But for us, like it's more this way, keeping the employees motivated, and there is always an opportunity to grow in the future should be there. That amount of surprises needs to be there for them every time, and every opportunity needs to be provided to them. So here, not only the Future Skills Prime, there are other online platforms which are there, the universities which are there. The private-public partnership here is very, very important. So if government, in fact, one of the things which I probably would like to look at it, like government also plays a very key role in this budget. I think skilling is one of the major agenda from the government side. But here, bringing up the labs, right now, the government has been providing the R&D type innovations and things like that for the income tax deductions and things like that. But like I would probably put it for this kind of a knowledge industry, skilling is very, very important. And the learning and development, there is a public-private partnership along with the government, and there is an element of CSR being inducted into that one. This can go a long way. Any L&D budget which has been spent, considered as a CSR. If this can go, then probably what happens, the supply side would be very, very high. And the skilled supply side would be very high. And that will balance out some of the cost aspect of it, which we are talking about. So there is a cost involved in it for L&D, and that cost, which is what's spending. And over a period of time, whatever spent, I believe the company would reap the benefits from the employees, because the projects which are right now, say example, for instance, we have been doing the help desk support, for instance. The rate, skill set rate for the help desk support, if it is smaller, probably about like $8 to $10 an hour. But as we engage the customer, there is every opportunity you get the higher projects or some of the development projects or some of the AML related projects. The relationship matters here. And if there is a scaling happens here, then every possibility that like you can utilize the same employee into the higher level projects wherein you can make a higher level revenue. So initially it's a cost, but like the skilling is very important. Future Skills Prime, in fact, with NASSCOM brand, it's been a very innovative methods for us. In fact, it's been utilized so much for our employee retention too.
Thank you so much. I think it's a very, very important initiative for us. I know we're almost out of time, so I'll just ask for the last question, which is saying, is there light at the end of the tunnel? What does 2022 or the next 12 months look for all of you? And, will we see a different outlook to the entire talent crisis as we move ahead? So Sandeep, can we start with you?
Yeah, so Sangeeta, we are actually seeing green shoots of middle management teams members being available in the market versus 2021. Does this mean that the large companies have filled up their open positions, and therefore now the middle management teams are available? A is that. It could also be that the middle management teams have experienced the life on the large corporate, and now they're looking to do they're getting an opportunity to do larger meaningful projects, and therefore they are available to engage with SME enterprises. That could be another way to look at it. So this is a positive move. Like you said, the cost has already changed. It has already gone up. But now at the revised cost, the talent is available. Is getting to available. I mean, we are seeing that green shoot. So this is a positive sign that we are seeing in 2020.
No, that's very heartening that, it's plateauing, and I think there are pockets of places where we can see better talent being available. And if you can get better middle management talent, the quality of, the overall talent pool in the company will improve, right? Ashwin, any closing comments from you on this?
I'm hopelessly positive about this, Sangeeta. It's the greatest opportunity which we as a generation being in this sector could have experienced so far. It's one of the greatest opportunity in terms of the demand for technology which is happening. SMEs, we being SMEs, we are frugal, we are nimble, we are quick to react, which larger corporations cannot. So that creates another larger opportunity for us to play in the market. Third and the fourth is we've access to talent which we did not have access to. So let's not focus too much about moving of talent, but let's focus on what access to talent we've had, which earlier we never had to. So that's the biggest shift which is happening for us, creating a combination of all three of them. And of course, there is enough demand which is happening. We had to sell technology a few years back. Now there is a subsequent very large scale demand which is happening, and specifically in developing countries, which believe technology is the only way forward for whole economic development for these countries. There is going to be continuous demand in developing countries, and that's going to be a fairly large opportunity for SME players to play. Every SME has an opportunity to become a large player. We saw Y2K create big players like Infosys, TCS, etc. Is this our opportunity for SMEs to shift here? That's what I would do a key takeaway from here.
Love the analogy, Ashwin. So can Y2K help be the growth driver for SMEs? I definitely think so. Kumar, closing comments from you. I know we're hopelessly out of time, so I'll request you to keep it.
I'll take it less than 30 seconds.
Yes.
So we were about like 700 people last year. Now we are 1,200 people. And this year, 2022, probably will be touching 2,000 people. So the sign is like, I don't see any reverse trend. Actually, it has been a very positive trend. Of course, the talent is hard to get in, but like every side, like when the opportunity is there, we have to be optimistic. Yeah, that there is no reason to kind of look back and keep saying that like it's not happening. And the second important factor in this whole market is we were doing probably jobs which were like kind of a last 10 years, no shift and things like that. But from the small SME segment mindset to a large company mindset, where some of the areas which we are venturing it out right now would not have happened without this market. I would say that way the mind shift has happened to think big, to play large, and make it really big in the market. So
thank you so much, Kumar, Ashwin, and Sandeep, on that note of optimism, growth, and technology and digital, the demand, the access to talent, the differentiated way to retain our talent. I'd like to close this discussion. We look forward to engage with you during the year, because this is an ongoing subject. We need to do much more on talent acquisition, employee experience, access to talent, skilling. I think each of the themes we dwelled on, there is so much more to do, and we'll work collaboratively with all of you to take this forward. So thank you for joining in, and back to you, Pooja.
thanks, Sangeeta. Thanks, NASSCOM.